Today in our 2011 Honda CR-V, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Blue Ox base plate kit with removable arms, part number BX2246. Now here's what it's going to look like once it's installed. We've gone ahead and installed our breakaway switch for our braking system at the same time we had the fascia off, but this does not come with it. It's going to fit nicely in our grill. The only thing you're going to have to cut out is a couple of the bars that drop across where our base plate lands. When it's not being used to hook our tow bar in place, we have these nice rubber covers that can help keep dirt and grime out of the hole. And when you're ready to tow it behind your RV, you're going to slide in your end, turn it, and it'll snap into position. Now we'll be ready to hook up our tow bar and hit the road. Once you're done, you reach in, pull back on this little clip here, spring loaded, turn it 90 degrees, and we'll take them out. We can reinstall our dust covers and keep them nice and clean. Now it does come with this mounting bracket for the electrical. You can either do a 6 or 7 way or a 5. And it also comes with an adapter to convert it over to a 4-way round if you so desire. Now this base plate is designed to be used with all the Blue Ox tow bars, and with the proper adapters you can use a Roadmaster tow bar as well. It's going to be a bolt-on design. You're going to have a couple holes to drill, and you're going to have to cut off some of your original bumper and a little bit of the trimming on the inside of the frame rails. Not much to trim on our fascia except for a couple little plastic bars that come down. Now we're going to begin our install by removing the front fascia. To do that, we're going to have to take off this top cover here first. It's going to be 7 connectors, push pin connectors, 4 across the front, 3 on the back side here. We'll just take a flat bladed screwdriver. We're going to pop up the center. We'll remove it. We'll go ahead and remove all 7 of those. And we want to make sure we save this hardware. We're going to put this back on when we're all finished. Now on either side of our vehicle, there's going to be 2 Phillips screws and 1 more push clip. So we'll take out that push clip, pop out the center like the ones on the top. We'll set this aside, then we can take out the 2 Phillips screws. And we'll do the same thing for the other side of the vehicle. Then we're going to come down to the bottom side. We're going to have 4 push pins. They're going to go along the bottom side of our fascia. Then we're going to have 1 10mm bolt on this side of the lower fascia, and 1 on the other side that we're going to need to remove. Now we're ready to take our fascia off. Now we're just going to grab the outside of our fascia. We're just going to pull out and release the clips. We'll do that for both sides. Now if your vehicle is equipped with fog lights, but ours is not, you would reach in and unplug the fog lights at this time. Then we'll just take our bumper off, and we're going to set it aside in a nice safe location. Now our next step is going to remove this styrofoam insulator that goes over our factory bumper. So we're just going to pull out on it. It's just got some little tabs here on the ends. Now we're going to need to remove this baffle on the driver's side. It's going to be 2 10mm bolts. We'll have 1 there, 1 on the inside. Then we can slide that baffle out of the way for later reinstallation. It's got 2 little tabs on the inside. Just kind of release the 2 of them and it should pop down out of there. Now we need to remove the washer bottle, so we're going to just push it on the center tab here to release it. Set that aside. We've gotten a small piece of hose here, so we're going to have to disconnect it. So we'll slide this up over the other side, and we're going to plug it up. Now we're going to go up to the top side here, and we're going to have one little push pin. We need to pop the center of this one out as well, so we can loosen up our filler neck. It's going to make it easier to get the bottle out if the filler neck is popped up out of the way. Now we're going to go ahead and take out the 3 bolts to hold your bottle in. We're going to have one here, and one in the front and the very bottom. We'll start with the 2 top ones for 10 millimeters. We need to slide this bottle down so we can disconnect the filler neck. Now we can pull the filler neck out, and you'll see there's a grommet that's probably going to end up getting stuck onto the filler tube. We'll just put this back into the bottle. When we're ready to reinstall it, we'll put a little bit of lubricant around here and it'll slide back in there real easy. Now we're going to need to remove these cooler lines for the training cooler. So we'll go ahead and pop these clips out of the way. You can actually open these up, and it's just a barbed clip. That'll allow it to open up. Then we're going to have 2 10 millimeter bolts, one here right in the center, and one here on the other side. We'll take those 2 bolts out. So we want to be able to drop our cooler lines down out of the way so we can install our base plate. That's going to give us plenty of room. Now we're going to need to do some removal of some metal here. So I've gone ahead and marked out where we're going to have to cut it out. We need to remove this piece right here. We're going to have to cut this piece and fold it over. And we're also going to have to make sure we have a straight line from the side of our frame rail here through our bumper cover. So all these parts that I've marked off here, we're going to take a Sawzall and cut them off. Now it's going to take a little while to cut this because we're going through a couple layers of metal here that are kind of welded together. Then you're going to notice we're going to have a little bit of excess here where it didn't cut straight, so we're going to take a grinder and we'll just clean up the end there. Now that we have our bumper ground down so it's flush with the end of our frame rail here, we're going to need to cut along the top, down here, and across the bottom here. And we're just going to have to kind of cut a piece out of here so we can run our saw up the side of the frame rail. Just want to have this as flush as possible. We're also going to cut a notch in here and here, and we're going to fold this panel back. Now we just go ahead and take a hammer and a chisel, and we're going to tap it out a little bit so we can make a good swing at it with our hammer. And we can get in here and just fold it flat. Now we're going to go ahead and test fit our base plate to make sure it's going to pass over all that. Now upon our first test fit we had a little bit of a lip still here, so we went ahead and just ground it down so this is a nice smooth surface. Now before we put some paint on here to protect our bare metal, we're going to do another test fit just to make sure it's going to fit in there. We're just going to take our base plate and put it up into place to make sure everything's going to line up. It all slides into place. Now we'll go ahead and put a little bit of paint on our bare metal surfaces. It's going to help protect against rust and corrosion. Now our next step is going to be to go ahead and remove this metal bumper from the frame rail. The 12 millimeter bolt up top and one there, and it'll be the same on the other side. We'll take out both the top bolts first, and then we can move on to the front ones. Now we can lift this out. There's going to be two little tabs that sits on there. We just lift it up off of those, and we're going to set this aside for now. Now that we have it up into place and clamped, we're going to have to drill out these 4 holes. They're going to be 13-30 seconds. And we're going to mark it with the 13-30 seconds. That'll get our center point. Then we can take a smaller drill bit and we'll drill through there. Then we can enlarge it. Now that we have this hole drilled out, our top 2 bolts are going to use handle nuts. It's a good idea to just start the bolt into the handle nut to make sure it's going to go through easily. If not, you might want to take a wrench and work it through. So we're going to place that in there. And we're going to take some red Loctite and put it on the bolts as is required by Blue Ox. We're going to put our nut up there, our 3/8 bolt and our lock washer, and we can go ahead and snug that one down. Just want to make it snug to hold it in place. Then we're going to go ahead and drill out the next one, the rear one, on the top. Now when we're placing this in on the frame, we want to make sure that the bottom edge of this is lined up with that bottom edge that we folded down to fit in here. And that's going to give us enough clearance for the nut on the inside here so it doesn't come in contact with the frame. And we'll be installing this one the same way. Now once we have those 2 snug down, we can go ahead and remove our vice grip that we're holding up our plate with on this side. Now we can go ahead and mark out the centers of our 2 lower holes. We can do the both of them because we know with these 2 in place, it's not going to go anywhere. Now this rear one here can be a little difficult because you're going through a couple layers of metal and there's some spot welds in place there as well. And we'll get the last one in the back here enlarged. Now the bolts in the bottom are going to be a 1-inch long bolt that we'll put through the hole with the Loctite, with a lock washer and a nut. The 2 bolts at the top are going to be a little bit longer bolt, about 1.25 inches. Now using a 9/16 socket and 9/16 wrench to hold the back side, we're going to run those down. Now that we have them all snugged down, we're going to go ahead and torque them to the specifications listed in our instructions. Start with the top 2. Now we can take these wires that came off of our handle nuts, we're going to cut them off back inside the frame rail so we can reinstall our bumper. Now we can take our bumper and we're going to slide it back in. Now you might have to grind a little bit more on the edges here depending on how smooth you made it when you cut it apart. We'll slip it back in there. We're going to set it on those tabs. Then we can reinstall the 2 bolts. And we'll tighten these bolts back down. And anything we've done on this side, we've done the same exact thing on the other side. Now we're going to need to re-secure our cooler lines here. So we'll put a bolt back in this spot here. Now we're not going to tighten it just yet, we're just going to run it down finger tight. When we get to the center here, it's not going to go back up where it used to be. So what we're going to have to do is drill a new hole in this bracket and secure it that way. Then we're going to bend this part of the bracket back out of the way so it doesn't come into contact with our fascia. Now we can take it down and we'll move it away from our condenser so we don't drill a hole in the condenser, because that would be bad. Now we can enlarge that to fit the bolt that was originally in there. And you want to be careful not to hit any of the pipes. And we can reinstall it back in its original location. Using our 10mm, we'll go ahead and tighten it down. Then we're going to bend this back out of the way so our fascia will fit on. We can re-secure the other bolt on the other side of the bracket. And we'll go ahead and just snap our hose back into the clamps. We want to make sure these are going to stay away from here far enough. So it wouldn't be a bad idea. We're just going to take a zip tie and tie them together so they won't come into contact with our base plate. Now we're going to take a small piece of hose. We'll place it through the center there. We'll bring it up around. And we're going to loop this back down through. Making sure to come out on the other side. And we'll secure our zip tie. And this will act as an insulator to keep our tube from rubbing on anything else. Now we've gone ahead and put our safety cable in that comes with our kit. These are going to be permanent to stay on the vehicle. So if the tow bar was ever to come unattached from our vehicle, this is going to help keep it intact. So we wrapped it around our frame. We've gone back around the outside here. We're going to take this quick link that comes with our kit. We'll put it through the hole in the back here. And then we'll just go ahead and tighten it up. Now you want to make sure you route this away from any wiring so you don't have it pinched in between. So stay on the inside of our wiring against the frame and away from any moving components such as belts on the other side. Then we'll go ahead and just tighten this down. We're using a 5/8 wrench and we're just going to snug it down. Then we'll take a couple of zip ties and we're just going to tighten it up. Now one of our last steps is we're going to go ahead and mount this bracket that comes with it for our breakaway switch for our braking system. So we'll just kind of put it to the bottom of the bumper here. Try to evenly space it between where our electrical connections are going to go and the bars. We'll go ahead and mark it out. And we're going to drill a 1/4-inch hole and put a 1/4-inch bolt that comes with our kit and a nylon lock nut in place. This way when they go to install the braking system, they don't have to go and take the bumper cover off just to install that bracket. Now we'll take our 1/4-inch bolt and we're going to drop it from the inside out or down. And we'll take our bracket and put it into place. Then we'll take a 1/4-inch nylon lock nut. Now since we already had the breakaway switch for our braking system, we went ahead and mounted it to this bracket. It's going to make it a little easier when we're doing our install for the braking system that we don't have to take the bumper cover back off. And we just used a nylon lock and a 1/4-inch bolt on there as well and ran our wiring up. Then we can reinstall this styrofoam bumper cover here, the inner bumper. Now before we put our fascia on, we want to make sure we put our air baffle back into place and secure it. Now we have our grommet reinstalled in here that was on the neck. We're going to slip our washer bottle back up into place. Make sure to feed these lines back through here. Kind of keeps them intact. Then we'll put this little plastic tab into place there. It's going to kind of hold it in place. Now we can lower it down. We're going to put a little bit of lubricant around the outside of this filler neck and we're going to push it back into position. We'll re-secure it with that push pin Then we can put the cap back on. Now we can go ahead and reinstall our hoses. Now we can take our bumper cover and just set it into place and see how much we're going to have to trim out. And we'll go ahead and just trim them off. We'll do that on both sides. We go ahead and snapped it back into position. Then we're going to take this top cover, we'll place this back on and reinstall our push pins. Then we can move to the side of the fender wells and reinstall the 2 screws and push pins in there. We'll have our 1 push pin that comes up in here. And we can reinstall the other side as well. Now we'll reinstall these 4 push pins along the bottom. And that's going to do it for our look at and install of the Blue Ox base plate kit with removable arms, part number BX2246 on our 2011 Honda CR-V.
Click the link below to shop, learn more, or visit us at etrailer.com.